where we're just like, hey, do you guys want to go save the world? Like, sure, we like literally it's in our blood to say this is what we.
Welcome back to Vegas Veteran Voices, the podcast where we do things a little bit differently by talking to vets who do unique things for either passion, purpose, or
But
therapy.
that's not what we're here. That's not what we're here for today.
We got other important shit going on this week.
Ghost, Gunny, stay in your guys' lane.
There's one major thing going on in the world this week that
Global.
millions and millions and millions of people care about. Marine Corps birthday. Monday, 250th. There's not much more to talk about today.
No, there's not.
That's pretty much what this whole thing should be focused on.
So Marines focus the entire month on our
Yes.
birthday. It's an entire month
Mhm.
of the Marine Corps birthday. 250 years of tried, true, historically proven leadership and war fighting.
250 years, still doing it now
Mhm.
better than we've ever done it.
I've seen the memes. I know how important it is. It's blown up my For You page all day long.
Still the only service that makes mission for recruitment every year.
Without
Every year.
trying.
Yeah, without
Sorry,
bonuses.
Come on, sailor.
I know. So, Ghost, tell me a little bit, why is the Marine Corps birthday so important for someone who's watching who's not a Marine?
If you're not watching, understand that the United States Marine Corps was established before the United States of America was. America came about in 1776. The United States Marine Corps came about in November 10th, 1775 by the Continental Congress, okay? We were basically a band of hoodlums sitting in a bar in Philadelphia called Tun Tavern. And they were there drinking their ale, and a lot of people don't realize this, Tun Tavern was the nucleus of downtown Philadelphia. It's where the Freemasons hung out. It's where all these organizations all hung out back then. And they were looking for a band of marauders, protection for the naval vessels. And Samuel Nichols, the first commandant of the Marine Corps, first recruiter of the Marine Corps, sat down that day and signed these young Marines up. Older than the country.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
You can't get any better than that, honestly. I got chills through my body just hearing it, just because I know how important the Marine Corps birthday is. I've seen it happen in person, and my team is actually going to be in Philadelphia for the birthday.
What a blessing that's going to be.
I know.
I know that there's only about 3 to 4 locations in the country where I think you should be this November 10th. Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. I'll give a shout out to Semper Fi Bar and Grill in Woodstock, Georgia, if you're on the East Coast down south, and the Leatherneck Club in Las Vegas. Those are the biggest parties in the country.
That's right.
And one of the coolest things about Philadelphia is the first location of the first birthday that General Lejeune held the first ball is where they're holding the ball in Philadelphia on the 10th.
Hell yeah. And for Vegas, what do you have going on here at the Leatherneck Club for the birthday?
Small get-together. Maybe 1,500 to 2,000 Marines through the doors that weekend. We might have some beer flowing. We're probably going to have some food trucks there. We're probably going to do ceremonial matters, cake cutting, oldest Marine, youngest Marine, and a number of surprises that nobody's going to be expecting.
This segment is brought to you by Spec Ops Water. Thank you so much for sponsoring this episode. So Spec Ops Water is built by the movers and shakers of the industry. It's military, first responders, police, and every single can, 25 cents, is donated to first responders and veteran nonprofits that are vetted and about the cause. So thank you again to Spec Ops Water. We really appreciate you. Cheers.
Cheers.
So, something that I think is interesting, Ghost, that you mentioned is the very first recruiter of the Marine Corps was that gentleman that had that idea, Revolutionary War, and saying, what do we think, fellas?
Yeah.
Over some ale, some red-blooded patriotism flowing through the veins. And I think that's really beautiful, and that we are the volunteer force.
That's right.
And only one time we were chatting about earlier did we actually draft.
Right.
And would you share a little bit more about that for us?
Well, I know that during the Vietnam War, there was a draft going on. And during that draft, I think it was for every 10 bodies that were being drafted, 5 were going Army, 2 were going Navy, 1 was going Air Force, 1 was going Marine. So we were actually the organization that took the least amount of drafts. But a lot of people, before going into the other services, went over to the recruiter's office and volunteer joined up to the United States Marine Corps because they wanted to be a Marine. They wanted to make sure they didn't go into one of the other services, which I think kind of speaks volumes right there about the Marine Corps. And God knows that was one of the worst wars that was in, I was at the end of it, being born at the end of it. But in history, as far as the way our troops are treated and the casualty rates and all those different things, in this current lifetime, it's amazing how many of them are here at home now and can still talk about it and still be a part of the birthday celebration coming up and still say that they're super proud to be a Marine.
Absolutely. And I hear your story and that era that you joined, and, we all joined the Marine Corps for very different reasons. And I think, admittedly, we might have just a tiny scotch of psychopath in all of us. Like, who chooses to actually join the finest warfighting force in all of the entire world by choice?
Yeah.
That says, I want to go and do this. May I ask you, back then, why the Marine Corps uniform and not any other uniform for you?
I went to a picnic, and there was 2 guys there having a great time, and it was my father's company's picnic, and I said, "Who are those guys?" And he's like, 2 of my employees, they're Marines. They were just having the best time of their life, and they were just like jaw-jacking and giving each other ribbons and stuff, and I'm like, I want to be a Marine one day. And I followed that path and through high school and everything like that, and I didn't even graduate high school. I left early to go in the Marine Corps. All you needed back then was, well, actually, you didn't even need a GED back then. You could just join. And that's what I did. I got my GED when I was in the Marine Corps.
Wow.
So yeah, it was just like, that was the passion for me. That's everything about it. Somebody asked me earlier, what's it like being a Marine? I said, I was a glorified Boy Scout.
That's right.
With guns. I was camping, I was hiking, I was hanging out with my buddies with bonfires, but they gave me weapons.
Having spent a little over 12 years on active duty myself, and I've been asked this question quite a bit, especially more women than you would imagine. What made you join the Marine Corps? And I sit there, and it was a very similar sentiment where I had a first sergeant mentor in high school whose name is First Sergeant Joseph Angelo Cerrone, First Sergeant Cerrone, and the guy was mean. Short little Italian, would talk so much shit to you and just berate you in the most hilarious way where you can't even be, you're like, that's hilarious. You're making me feel so small, but this is so funny. And there was some sort of like a cool swag about Marines.
The arrogance.
That there's an arrogant, they know they're better. And they walk the walk, they talk the talk, and there's no disparity. And so there was something about that aura of him, of this example of a beautiful, imperfect, sinning man, that I said, I want to be as cool as that guy one day. Not necessarily in a male, powerful way, but how do I get that swagger? How do I just get that coolness where I can walk in a room and just know that I'm the shit, I love that. What do I do to get that? Go to boot camp, he said.
And you're doing it today, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
I love walking. Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
I love walking into a room and having eyes go left or right and be like, who's that guy? You'll find out soon.
That's right. Exactly.
It doesn't really
Fafo,
matter.
Fafo.
But it's cool, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you walk with that swagger, you talk with that swagger, you interact with that swagger, and you can be cuddly and you can be nice and you can be sweet as pie, but when you turn it on, and everybody knows you turned it on.
That's right.
And I love it.
I love that you share that, because when someone says, what does it feel like to be a Marine? There's something that, and it's not really the traditional that you hear about and that you read about where you get broken down in boot camp. I think every service in the United States military can relate to being broken down and rebuilt in character and personality and to find that thing. But I'll never forget the day that I broke down physically, where I was just put to the test, the metal. And it was that whole exercise where you're holding out your rifles, straight out, and your arms shaking. We all remember that. We all have PTSD from it. And, I just remember everyone was dropping but me. And the drill instructor came up to me, drill instructor Sergeant Butler, she was my kill hat, and she let me have it. And when I tell you, when she ripped into me because the physical wasn't working, she made me feel like the smallest thing I'd ever been. And when I broke down like that, I think there was some moment of surrender for the pain and the trauma and our old life where it just all of a sudden just dissipates, where there's some strange psychological healing I feel that happened by me just releasing and just to say whatever I was before doesn't matter because I'm becoming a Marine.
From that moment forward, you were going to be changed individual.
Exactly.
And like you said, some people will say, you know, oh, they break us down or whatever. They're molding is what they're doing. They're molding. They're creating a warrior. That is their job. The Marine Corps is built on a warrior's ethos. That is our job. Those drill instructors' job is to break and build. You're molding that young individual to be the next generation of warriors. If you don't take it that seriously and you don't do it like that, then what are we going to have as a military fighting force? We're not going to have what we have right now. It'll be something totally different. And we don't want it to be totally different. We want it to be exactly what it is. You know, I get a lot of older veterans, new Corps is not any, you know, blah, blah, blah. And the Corps before you said it about you too. And the next Corps will say it about the next one, right? Yeah, I'll never be like my dad. And then my kid's like, I'll never be like my dad, and so on and so on, right? And the same thing with the Corps. You know, every generation has its thing. Every generation has its thing that makes it good or better or whatever it is, whether it's technology that they have now, the weapon systems they have now. You know, you think back to the guy that was dragging an old AR, or sorry, a M14 through the mud in Vietnam, and look at the weapon system he had. You know,
made it work.
Yeah, that was it. Muddy weapon with flip sights and a 7.62 round.
Oh yeah,
and made it work. Now these kids are wearing eye vision and ACOGs on their weapons, and the sight systems, you know, automatically zeroes everything in. Yeah, they're warriors, and they love. The lucky part is they have the technology now to support that,
it's an
so they
art
can be
form.
even better warriors.
That's right. Efficiencies, innovation, and technology. And I think, especially coming from an aviation background, seeing the different airframes, like my goodness, was the F-14, you know, super sexy airframe. Man, like, come on, you know, Tom Cruise, the whole deal. And as an air traffic controller, you see the F-15, then you see the F-18. And now you've got the F-22s, and you see it, and you're like, man, look at these capabilities.
Yeah.
They took the Harrier, had a baby with the F-14, and then now you've got these amazing hovercrafts, and you've got the Osprey now. That there were some kinks when they first came out, but especially in aviation warfighting and in military operations and strategy, there is no force that is better. And there's something about how we do one thing the way that we do everything and vice versa. Just like the uniform, I feel like, you know, and when we're looking at strategy and thinking about everything, we're looking at the way that we uniform, why is it the best? Because that millimeter matters to us, because that millimeter could mean the difference of life and death. It could mean the life or death of our brother or our sister or our entire nation, right? And so I think there's that level of pride where Marines have it really special that we do everything the way that we do one thing. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think that that's why Marines struggle so much when they leave the Marine Corps, because that standard is no longer with them left and right.
You're built into a system of brotherhood, right? And I'll say this, and you can check me if I'm wrong with this. The whole time I was in the Marine Corps, brotherhood meant brotherhood. It didn't mean, oh, well, you're a girl, so you're not part of the brotherhood. It's brotherhood meant everybody.
Yes, sir.
I get checked every once in a while. Well, what about sisterhood?
No, I don't.
It's
agree
the
with
whole thing. It's brotherhood means the whole thing. If somebody wants me to say sisterhood, I'll say sisterhood. But when I say brotherhood, it's all encompassing for me. We were brought up into that brotherhood world. The person to your left, right, and behind you has your sides and your six all the time. And you rely on them every day. Wartime, peacetime did not matter. Your rack mate, you know, whatever it was, you relied on each other. You do that for 5 years, 8 years, 12 years, 15 years. And then you get thrust into the civilian community. And who's got your six? Who's got your left? Who's got your right? Not a lot of people. Maybe your family. And some families are so fucked up, maybe the family doesn't even have their back, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard. And that's where I think a lot of military individuals struggle, especially Marines, when they come out and that bond isn't right next to them anymore. You can't just say, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy's not here anymore.
Right.
You know, and now you're going out into a life that you're not used to. You're going to go get a career job that you're not used to. New people. And God knows, my first job in the civilian sector,
What was it?
fuck those people.
Oh, I think we all feel very similarly. That's universal.
Yeah, sons of I mean, I got a hangnail. I can't come to work today. Come on. Come on.
That's right.
Worst. And it took me a long time to adapt to not having the regiment of getting to work on time, doing everything. I mean, people being tardy for work for me is just like the grind. Just the grind for me. It's like, you know where you live. You know how long it takes to get to work. You know traffic might be an issue. Get there on time.
That's right.
Get there early. I'm fine with that. But get there on time.
Yes, sir. Well, not only I think in the veteran community, but when you share like not having that bond, I think also not having that standard and carrying those ethos in. And it's something that took me a little while to learn as I've been out for a decade now, left in 2014. So 11 years I've been out.
Boot.
Such a boot. That I think, especially in the entrepreneurship world, that it's completely, if your standards are not being met in the civilian sector or in jobs or in friendships, it is okay to build your own house with those new standards and say, you know what, screw a seat at the table. I want to bring those standards back into my personal, professional relationships, my partnerships, my friendships, everything. And if it's not being reciprocated and if it doesn't meet that Marine Corps standard, it's okay to just let it lie and to leave it where it is. And that's something where, you know, I've learned a lot of hard lessons where, you know, I will fire a client in a heartbeat now because they're unethical. I will fire someone because they're not reliable. I will fire someone because they may or may not be the best husband or wife to their spouse. Because if you're going to screw someone that's that close to you in your heart and your life, you're probably going to end up screwing me or my end client or customer anyway. So I think to me, the Marine Corps leadership traits, JJ did tie buckle for those of us who, you know, may be wondering what that is. Those leadership traits, I try to uphold those in every aspect of my life every single day. And I carry that through without question.
And you know as well as I do, as you climb that success ladder, you become more visual. People are looking at you through a more...
Oh, yeah. They're waiting for you to slip up and breathe wrong, man. The more that you hold that candle...
But you're more on a stage. As what you're doing through your entrepreneurship or anything like that, you are more on a stage. And there's more people with their eyeballs on you. And it just keeps growing and growing and growing, where all of a sudden... you're not even thinking about it. You're just being who you are.
Right.
But a lot of the reason that people are looking at you is because they're looking up to you.
Right.
And that's a big thing. And that's a thing that to be proud of. But it's also one of those things that's very hard to maintain if you don't have those standards instilled within you.
An ethos, exactly. And I think, you know, when someone will ask me, they'll say, you know, how did you leave the Marine Corps to get into entrepreneurship and to be successful? And, you know, I'll share this now with you all, and I don't say this out loud very often, but, you know, I'm diagnosed PTSD, military sexual trauma. You know, I've got a lot of stuff going on. There's some physical stuff where I might look like I'm in shape and I'm in the gym, but, you know, I got disabilities. I got stuff going on that are going to affect me for the rest of my life and not really be that fun when I'm in my 60s, 70s, 80s, you know? And so having that experience to say, you know, I've went through the counseling, I've been on the medications, I've been through that, and you just kind of got to go through it. You got to lean on your resources. There's no magic trick that I did, but to be able to say, you know what, I know that I have the strength, the experience, and the leadership capability to help other people. So if there's anything I could share is that instead of being helped, help others. You see people in the community all the time. Their lifeblood is helping and giving back, whether it be veteran organizations, other entrepreneurship communities, their family, their community, in any way. But when those who cannot teach, you know what, you're struggling with mental health, try to help someone else with what worked for you.
Right.
Teach that to somebody. And so if there's any piece of magic sauce that I could share, is that the more that I tried to be helpful to others, the more that I healed. Period.
I'll tell you one of the other things that I think is extremely important, and you've gone through it, but you're allowed to be vulnerable.
That's right.
And I'm a bearded old dude sitting over here saying, you're allowed to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
All right? You are. And you're allowed to take time.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to say, hey, I need my space every once in a while too. You know, I don't care how big the stage is that you're on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we watch a ton of people that are in high levels of our world who spend so much time not taking care of themselves that they crash and burn in front of the public eye.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
We have to be able to take time for ourselves too, because they are underlying issues. There are things that we don't want to make public, whatever that is. You have to take time for yourself, because that'll make you better for them, right? If you crash in front of people, then their persona of what you are is kind of like, oh, they're human, but are they going to crash again? Are they going to crash again? So you have to take that time away from that limelight and say, I need that for myself every once in a while. Take that time.
Completely agree.
The people who are the closest to you will know exactly why you're doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the importance too, especially, you know, in active duty and veteran leadership, having worn the uniform, whether Marine Corps or otherwise, whether we want to admit it, there's a level of responsibility of even having once worn the uniform to uphold a level of standards. And I don't want it to be confused with like optics, where optics are so important. Perception is reality, like that whole sort of song and dance. But I think it's important to recall, like, hey, you know, at some point, we are leaders. And yes, vulnerability is important to show our humanity, but at the same time, we do not want to appear volatile to the public. And there's a level of leadership where they teach it and ingrain us in every facet of the military to say, hey, look, your subordinates are your subordinates. Your peers are your peers, and your leaders are your leaders. And I think that we blend that so much, not only sometimes on active duty, but now, where we think, you know, who am I actually leading? Who am I actually following, and who's directly next to me that is allowed to see everything? And to reestablish, you know, not so much boundaries, but columns of the humans in our life. Not everyone's meant to see behind the curtain when you're in a leadership position, and I believe that's what you're sharing.
Absolutely.
So I think that's important to kind of just reevaluate what's meant for the public eye, what's meant for your close peers, and what to share with your boss versus maybe a direct report who reports to you.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And it goes back to me and Ghost have had this conversation before. I'm so fucking thankful that the old guard is dying out and we have people who are actually approaching the hard battle of mental health and leadership head fucking on, because it's something that was, you're a pussy if you didn't do it. That's what was drilled into you and ingrained into you. And I'm so thankful that this generation is getting rid of that mentality. It's a fight.
It is. It's not that we're getting softer.
Mhm.
It's becoming, we're becoming more knowledgeable.
Yes.
Okay. And a lot of people, especially in my age bracket, who are about to hit their 60s, are saying, you know, I went through this and I'm still able to talk about it and educate and say, hey, I don't want you to have to go through that. And if you are going through it, here's the steps, right? I'm learning from the younger generation at the same time. You know, I'm hearing these younger individuals come and say, this is what I did to navigate this, and this is what I did to navigate that. That's good knowledge. Let me put that away back here. So when I talk to a young veteran or an older veteran, I can say, hey, I learned this knowledge the other day. Give it a try. You know, see if it works for you. I think being open is number one, right? That we talk about what we know is out there ailing people. That's number one. That it's not all behind a curtain, that we know it's out there. Number two is make sure the resources are out there. If the resources aren't out there, if they're not knowledge, if they don't have the knowledge of the resources, we get them the knowledge. If they need an assist after they know the issue, know that there's resources available for them, then we do the next step, which is possibly let me help you through this threshold of getting to that resource. And then they should be able to go from that point forward. For years, the stigma was, suck it up, buttercup, you know. And
Ultra and hydrate.
yes. And that is what it was, and that's fine. It's not fine later on in life.
Yeah.
It's just not. And I'm not saying anybody did it right, anybody did it wrong, that our leadership wasn't competent. None of that. It was just what we did. And the end result, though, is that you have people that are now suffering, and some of them can put two and two together and understand why they're suffering, and some of them can't. But if the resources are out there and they have access to those resources, that's the number one thing that we have to be able to make sure they're aware of.
Yeah, and I wouldn't put that on the leadership per se.
No.
It's a catch-22. It has to be that way in order to strive and get the mission done. Because if every single day people were going to medical, people were not at work, and things wouldn't be getting done.
Right.
Whether that's as you're in the infantry or as an air traffic controlman, the mission comes first regardless. But the hard thing for vets to realize is you did your duty, you served your nickel.
Yeah.
Now you have a whole new mission.
Well, and it wasn't like our hospitals on base weren't full.
Mhm.
They were. We all thought about it, though. That was the sick, lame, and crazy.
Yes.
That's who went to the hospital.
Don't go to sick call. What's the matter with
Sick,
you?
lame, and crazy. They go to medical. The rest of us were just, you sprain an ankle, you sprain whatever, and yeah, take some Motrin, hydrate, change your socks, move on. Go see the doc in the field. We'll be good, right? We talked about that before.
Mhm.
Then there's no documentation. Then there's no this. Then there's no that. And then you're fighting the VA system later on, right? And it's just a wicked circle.
Yes.
And again, by us talking about it and being open and forward about it is just opening more people's eyes that they should also look at it from that perspective as well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. When we talk about like the leadership and the stepping up and like the new mission that you mentioned,
Mhm.
it's I've been asked quite a bit in the past few months since I've become a little bit more vocal and like leaning into if I have this leadership experience and capability, is it not remiss of me to actually share this if I have the bravery, if I have the courage, if I have the resources, and maybe even the network to make really big things happen, to inspire people on a much larger scale, is it not my responsibility to start speaking out? And I struggle with that because I'm not really a limelight human, and I don't want to be in the front. And what's interesting, and it's the advice that I give to my clients for social media and in the startup world is, if you're a founder, if you got a message, if you got a brand, a product, or a service that's going to help solve a problem, your face is what sells it. Not your sales team. You are the owner. You are the founder. You are the company. This is your idea. This is your baby. You go and you show them how it's done. Go show them why this is going to solve their problem. Go show them why they should trust you. Your voice, not anyone else's. But something's going to resonate. And if you have haters, great. You're doing something right. I'm a huge fan of that. So any press is great press, so share it, talk shit about it if you want to. I love it. Thank you for the free engagement. But something that you say and that you believe is going to resonate with other people that really needed to hear that. And they needed that encouragement. You might have saved a life that day. You might have encouraged them to quit their job and to find something better that day. You might have encouraged them to write the book that they've always wanted to write, or to reach out and apologize to an estranged family member that they didn't forgive one day. And so I think talking about our experiences is so important as veterans, but especially in the Marine Corps community. 250 years, we're celebrating Marine Corps leadership. How many of us listening to this podcast right now aren't exhibiting Marine Corps leadership, that have retired, that have 20 plus years of honorable and faithful, great service to our Corps, and you're not using it?
Right.
Find that fire inside of you and do something with that leadership because it lives there, and go and help the frickin' world. Go and help your community. Go help your family. Lead your family. Lead people around you. And whether you spent 4 years where you got out as a Lance Coolie, or you retired as a Master Gunnery Sergeant or a Sergeant Major, an officer, I think so many of us kind of just accept that it's okay to just fall back into the world. And in some small capacity, you have to know that you're not playing big enough for the world,
I love being a mover and shaker in the veteran community. I think it's important. I know you and I are a part of a very large veteran community here in Las Vegas.
Yes, sir.
And we know that there is a large veteran population who needs the movers and shakers. They're the ones who count on the movers and shakers to stand up and say, hey, come join me.
Mm-hmm.
Come be a part of, because they need it. They're not the person who's going to make it happen, but they need to be a part of it.
Right.
And they rely on people like you and other movers and shakers in the Vegas Valley. And I hope that's repeatable across this whole country, because every town USA needs that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because those veterans, many of them, at all branches, will wait until they get the orders to go do. They're a good PFC,
That's right.
right? And until those orders come in, I'll just sit here and I'll mind my own business, and I hope they come through, right? And we've all seen it. We see people that come to the same events over and over and over again, and I love having them there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only time you'll see them,
Right.
right? Because they're locked into that
There too.
mode where they're just like, okay, I'm not going to take lead, but I'll be part of.
Well, and we need that,
Absolutely.
right? That's a vital part of our ecosystem
Absolutely.
and the attendance. And where I'm at, I think, in my life and in stepping into being a veteran, I think I don't know if this is true or not, whatever you gentlemen think, but there was a time where I actually would not lead with the fact that I was ever a Marine. When I left, I wanted my own identity. I didn't want to be known as the Gunny. I didn't want to be known as, like, I was just like, nope, I'm a civilian and I am a successful entrepreneur. I'm trying to leave that behind me as if it never existed. And there was some form of, I don't even want to say shame, because I was very proud, but I wanted to create this unique identity that was apart from and separate from. I didn't want to ride that. And I struggled with that for the longest time. Is this true for you?
No,
Is this true for you?
no, it's so much for me.
I
What I'm smiling about, why do I call you Gunny?
Right.
Because the first 5 times she came to Leatherneck Club, I didn't know she was a Marine.
That's true.
I didn't know she was a Marine. And then it got pointed out to me, Ghost, you know I'm a Marine. You are?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I was a gunnery sergeant. I'm like, my apologies, Gunny. And I've called her that every day since that day.
Thought I was
That was
a peasant
no,
civilian.
no,
I'm kidding.
somebody who thought, well, I'll go hang out at this bar. I don't know.
You have great
You were
burgers.
always
Try
with
the
people, so
burger.
you were there for a reason. But
Right.
yeah, but I that's why I call her Gunny. What she was just saying.
Yeah.
She doesn't flaunt that she was a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps. She was part of the crowd that day. She wasn't being that leader that day. She was just being a human being and enjoying life.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
And it was nice that you called me out and said, damn it, I'm a Marine.
But like, happy birthday, sir. I'm like, you know, it's my birthday too, right? Last Marine Corps ball, I think, was actually when we had that conversation. But I didn't lead with it for the longest time because I wanted that autonomy. I didn't want to say, oh, let her in because she's the female, disabled, veteran, minority, like leave all of those titles at the door and maybe just let me get something on merit. Maybe just my skill, right?
Yeah.
And not to say that that's not amazing, that there's very special programs and opportunities for any and all of those titles and names, and there's space that's held for that. But it was very important to me for me to make my own way without the propping up of anything.
And then you can let them have that knowledge later.
They can have it later if I already earn it, but I don't need that to open the door. Maybe my personality, maybe my merit, maybe my experience, but I've found that it's important to lead with it over time. To say, yes, I am a gunnery sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. I am a combat veteran. I am a deployed Marine that suffers from mental health issues and PTSD and all of this other stuff. And maybe I can help my brothers and sisters, but that doesn't discredit that I also am all of the things from my family and my ancestors and other civilian experiences that I've had. And so it's all this whole human. But I think something that's really special about Marines, especially as we celebrate the 250th birthday of our Corps, is to know that there's something in our blood that we can never get rid of. We can pretend it's not there if we want to, but there is something in us that knows that we're special.
You know who reminds me of that on a regular basis?
Who's that?
My wife. She's like, you're such a Marine. All the time.
She's amazing.
You're such a Marine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With all the guests that we have on this podcast, whether they're Army, Navy, Air Force, we haven't had any Coasties yet. So if you know someone, hit
Come
me
on,
up.
Coast
You got Space
Guard.
Force?
We haven't had Space Force either. But with all of the different branches we have, if I have someone that was in the Navy, they say, I was in the Navy. If I have someone that was in the Army, I was in the Army.
I am a Marine.
I'm a Marine.
Right.
Exactly. You guys are the only
Every
branch
day we die.
that does that.
Yeah.
So when we get back from this upcoming break, I want you to dive deep into why the Marine Corps is different from every other branch in that blood, that mentality. And I want you to tell me what makes the grass grow.
So you want us to be humble.
Blood makes the grass grow, in case you guys are curious.
Awesome.
There's no such thing as an ex-Marine,
No.
right? Is what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Every single Marine I've come in contact with is like, I am a Marine. I'm a Leatherneck. this is me, take it or leave it, I don't care.
You know, I think there's something a little bit more permanent, I think, about Marine Corps boot camp. It's not a semi-permanent hair color or a temporary tattoo that you can just kind of go, oh, the uniform's off. So it's something, I know that it's on a cellular level that I was absolutely changed in the Marine Corps. Do you agree?
I agree. And I also don't know that any other branch says that you have to earn the title.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're the only one, I believe, that says that and makes you earn the title. You're not a Marine until you get that Eagle Globe and Anchor. And you're not going to get that without earning it. And I think that's kind of what sets it apart as well, which makes it so critical that you honor that and allow yourself to be said, I'm a Marine.
Yeah, because the Marine Corps is one of the few branches that doesn't constantly have troubles with recruiting and doesn't have to beg people with giant bonuses.
Well, that's the dress blues.
It's the dress blues.
Dropping panties since 1775.
Hey.
It's
Is
sexy
what
merch.
it is.
Hey.
You guys could be dropping trousers when you wear
So
them.
very true. I haven't found a gentleman friend that doesn't like the female dress
Yes.
blues yet, so that's a good thing, I suppose. But with the Marine Corps, what sets us apart, you know, I think that we like hard things. It's our favorite, you know, and I know that there was Secretary of War Pete Hegseth brought everybody together and was like, look, no more fat generals. Find one Marine that complained about that. We love that shit.
Nope.
We're like, yeah, that's right, you know. And
Wait, they got to do a PFT every year?
oh no, like we're Marines are just we're ready for it. We're like that's the standard that we keep. So somewhere along the way, and you know, any other service is gonna blow up our DMs
Yep.
and sorry, but not sorry. You know, any Marine keeps that standard no matter what, whether general, officer, enlisted, senior enlisted, it does not matter. And so to stay in our Marine Corps, that standard is the baseline that we uphold.
That's correct. And I'll say this right now, for anybody out there in another service, we know that there was people in other services that were physically fit as hell, could match the Marine Corps with their physical fitness.
Absolutely.
We get that. We're not saying that you weren't physically fit, so
That's
shut
right.
the fuck up. All right? But if you don't meet the physical requirements of the United States Marine Corps, you are already tracking yourself out of the United States Marine Corps.
That's right.
You don't get weight waivers. You don't get this. I mean, if you're a bodybuilder, you get a weight waiver, right? If you're burying bodies at Arlington, you get a weight waiver. But if you're in the General Marine Corps, you're not getting a weight waiver. And if you do, it's a very short-term one. You will be scrutinized, and you will go under caliper testing for fat density, and they will monitor you and your PFT scores, and you will fast-track yourself out of the Marine Corps, and you will not make that next rank.
And there are no exceptions.
That's correct.
So, you're such a great leader, and you know what, you're a great full bird colonel, sir. And so, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and waive your PFT. We're going to waive your combat fitness test. We're going to waive your rifle scores. No. There are no exceptions in the United States Marine Corps.
Correct.
And I think that again, what sets us apart is it also, I don't know, does any other branch of service have a mascot? I don't know. I know that we have a mascot.
Assuming the eagle is the Air Force.
Right.
I think the Army's a goat.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think it's a goat.
Can you guys comment in the
it's a
comment
goat.
section? I don't know what are
I
your
think it's a goat.
mascots, but
I think it's what the college uses, the
Right,
Citadel. Yeah, I think it's a goat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or is that the Navy's?
No, the goat is the Army.
Is it a ram or is it a goat?
It's one of those things. Like I said, like if you're Army, let us know because we're dumb
we're
and
gonna
we
get
don't
so
know.
much hate from this episode.
I know we're a bulldog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, we have
Everybody
so much.
knows we have a bulldog.
Mhm.
We have so much symbolism. So you look at the eagle, and anchor. You look, of course, at our colors and our flag, which all branches, of course, treat ceremoniously with respect. However, like there's just so much symbolism with the Marine Corps. Everything matters and means something to that uniform, from the blood stripe on our trousers and earning that, you know, to just the pins and what it is and why it is. And I don't think that any other service really carries that either, with that intention of symbolism throughout.
There's, a lot of people talk about that with the dress blues, from the leatherneck stock, from the Barbary Wars that we still wear on our dress blues to this day, from the blood stripe, from the Battle of Chapultepec,
Yes.
with all the NCOs that were killed.
Mm-hmm.
That's why only NCOs and above can wear the blood stripe. I mean, there's traditions throughout that uniform. And I will say this also. I think of all the branches of service, the Marine Corps, from day one of boot camp, starts teaching you history.
Deeply
You learn
rooted.
history from day one. By the time you're doing final prac test outs, you know all the major wars, you know all the major conflicts, you know why our uniforms are the way they are, you know who were the most influential people in the Marine Corps in our history. And then once you get into the fleet, you just keep learning more. So it's ingrained in you to know your history.
Mm-hmm. No, it's special. And there's not only the history that they ingrain and the standards that they ingrain and the brotherhood as you share, you know, and to touch on what you shared earlier about the sisterhood. And I think it's imperative for me to say this out loud. You know, when we join the U.S. military, but especially the United States Marine Corps, as a woman, I don't want to speak for every woman, I know that I'm joining a gun club. I know that I am joining a boys' club, a men's club. I know that I am going to have to uphold a certain standard in order to be respected, in order to be valued, and in order to be an asset to the mission. Period. The end. I do anticipate a level of, let's say, respect, and even in some cases, chivalry. Marines are some of the most respectful and also chivalrous in most cases when they're around women. And so, you know, when you think about opening doors, customs and courtesies, so the Marines, I will say, the majority of the male Marines that I have ever encountered have been the utmost respectful, wonderful human beings. There is a few little batch that, you know,
There's a
aren't
batch
really,
everywhere.
there's a batch everywhere.
Right.
But I will tell you, the Marines are the cleanest. They're the most respectful. They are the most considerate and also chivalrous when it comes to women specifically. So like I share, whatever's out there, this is my experience. Other women in the Marine Corps may have had a different experience, depending on the bases and also depending on perhaps how everyone carries themselves as individuals. The way that I carried myself, I demanded respect and I also rendered it. And so I might have had a very different experience, but I knew what I was signing up for, and I didn't expect any level of special treatment. I didn't expect any level of exception. So for me, when you say brotherhood, I take that as a compliment because it's almost sort of like not saying that I'm equal to my brothers who are on the front lines, but they look at me as a vital asset to support the mission, and they look at me as a sister. And so that to me is important enough. I don't need to be told that I'm a part of a sisterhood. And to be honest, my Marine Corps sisters, you know, for the most part, we knew that we were just contributing to the mission. There was no special exception that I think any of me or my sisters ever needed to serve there.
Yeah, and I think some of that's evolving now, though. I believe that there are more roles becoming available to the female Marine where they do have opportunities to go into some of these combat roles now and stuff, especially in the aviation department and things like that, which I think is great. But again, like you said, it's one mission, one Marine. You know, we're all out there for the same job. It doesn't matter if you're clerical. Doesn't matter if you got water purification. It doesn't matter if you're on the flight line. It doesn't matter if you're a grunt. It doesn't matter if you're a tracker. One mission, one Marine Corps, right? And whatever that mission is, whatever we're told to go do, that's our mission. Right. Doesn't matter male, female, color, skin, religion. Doesn't friggin' matter, you know. And I think most of us still think that way today.
I agree. There's one controversial opinion I do have, though, that I'll say it out loud, and I would love to hear your thoughts, especially, and yours. I do not think that women should be on the front lines in combat. I just don't. And I feel very strongly that, you know, while some women are absolutely capable and skilled, that I don't think that A, society, I don't think B, the enemy, and C, the men that they will be serving alongside them with on the combat lines are at any point in time ready for that.
I think you hit all three. Society, number one, nobody wants to see their daughter in a combat role.
That's right.
Okay. Number two, the fact that the enemy, if they were to capture a woman, especially in some of the countries that we go to that are fucking
Brutal.
just horrible countries towards women, are going to treat those women worse than they would have treated any male on that front line. Number three, the fellow Marine in that fighting hole.
That's right.
Not that they wouldn't respect, not that they would not trust, not that they would not have their back and not expect the other person to have their back. My fear would be that that male in the fighting hole with that female will put her life in front of the mission.
It's ingrained.
Yes.
It's
As
innate.
you said, chivalry, right?
It's natural.
My priority is, and
to
that
protect.
compromises the mission.
Absolutely.
And that's the only, So, like I said, I think you hit all 3 points.
And when I say the fellow Marines, like meaning the males,
Yeah, I know.
male Marines, male veterans, it's not only the temptation of what is naturally primal, right? Where attraction, bonding,
It-
you know, anything else, but it's also the emotional vulnerability that I
absolutely.
think compromises the mission, because you can trust a brother to not put his hands where they're not meant to go. Most often times, I would hope. But what you can't trust is they're not going to innately want to protect a woman or a child. And so for me, when I sit there and it's like, I don't believe that women, sisters, everybody, that you're not fully capable. I believe that you absolutely are, to uphold the same exact standard and capability and success of the mission. But until our fellow military male counterparts are ready, and until the enemy is willing to treat us fairly, interesting. And 3, until society is ready to create us right next to each other as equals, which is what God never truly intended, the helper of the male, not the male. And so that is a very controversial opinion. I was actually selected to go to the School of Infantry when I was on Marine Corps Embassy Security Group duty as a deck commander. And I was selected by Marine Corps Embassy Security Group to volunteer my service to go and attend the School of Infantry for the pilot program for women, where it was only staff NCOs and officers as women to go. And I talked to my Marines at the time, Sergeant of Marines Infantry Kyle Reglin. If you're listening to this, I will never forget you. You're my assistant deck commander at the time, and I remember Kyle Reglin told me, he said, I think Staff Sergeant Gunny, I can't remember which I was. He said, "You have to go. You have to go." And I said, "I'm not going. I don't even believe in this. Why would I go?" And he said, "Well, number one, we need you to at least go to the school so that you can get press to share your reasons why you don't think that women should be on the front lines." And I respectfully decided not to volunteer my service and not to go, because I didn't want to be a talking head, and I didn't want that press to follow me and to paint who I was in my identity. And I said, at some point I'll be able to share my story regardless when I get out or whichever, but I didn't want to be painted as the Marine staff NCO who said, no, this is not
Shut
in
it all
service
down.
anyway.
You're the reason they don't have it.
Correct.
But there will come a day where that first group of females will be in fighting holes.
That's right.
And it's
I know.
not going to not happen. It's going to come.
I know.
And eventually that step's going to have to be taken. It just is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
When that step gets taken, it still won't be the norm for a long time. Until 50% of those fighting holes have women in them, it won't be the norm.
Yeah.
But it has to start somewhere. And I don't want to be in that fighting hole for the first time.
I know.
I don't want to be in that fighting hole, because my focus will be the mission, but it'll also be the people around me. And if I've got a dude on each side of me and I care with all my heart for the both of them, but I know what they're capable of, and I know that they would do the same thing for me, and they would keep fighting to make sure nobody else died, I don't know what I would do if it was a female sitting next to me.
Right. And it takes a lot to share that, and to be vulnerable, and that what is innately primal as a man, right? To say it's perfectly okay to be a provider and to be a protector, and not saying that women aren't fully capable of defending their own lives, just like your brother is, but it's innate, it's in the heart. It's you can't pluck your heart out and what you were born and created to be and just delete all of it and pretend that it doesn't exist. So I respect that you admit that and share that.
I'd still be sitting next to her in a fighting hole going, "Ma'am, are you okay?"
That's right.
I still call everybody a ma'am. You know, it is what it is.
I work for a living.
Yeah. Yeah, if I had a fucking nickel for every time I hear that. I work for a living.
And everything that you guys are talking about, it all goes back to those values that were instilled on November 10th, 1775. So, Ghost, anything else you want to add about the Marine Corps birthday coming up?
Wherever you are in the world, know it's your day. Go anywhere, local tavern, open your window, shout, "Happy birthday, Marines." Some Marine's going to shout it back. How did General Lejeune say it? As long as there's 2 Marines together anywhere in the world on November 10th, they are celebrating the birthday.
That's right.
And
Go find another Marine. FaceTime another Marine. Tell them happy birthday.
Go to your local tavern.
Yeah.
You'll know where they're at. They're the loud ones in the corner.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because there's 2 types of Marines, the ones that are loud and yelling, and the ones that are quiet and they have a lid of a trash can in one hand and a firework in the other,
They're the
and they're
ones I
shooting
worry-
them at
they're
each
the ones I
other.
worry about.
We've all got one of those, do we not?
We got one right here.
Probably.
But yes, go celebrate your birthday. You've earned it. It is yours for the rest of your life. This is probably the biggest one of most of our lives, the 250th. Go and celebrate. You've earned it.
Rah.
Awesome. Thank you, Gunny, Ghost, both of you for coming.
Gunny, Ghost, Gunny. Yeah,
And
Semper
that's it.
Fidelis. Thank you for having us.
Of
Appreciate
course.
you,
Thank
brother. Semper Fi.
Semper Fi.